Growing up, I had to play everything on at least normal, and I had this really weird mindset that I wasn't supposed to give my opinions on a game unless I could beat it at the hardest difficulty, just so I could impress some sweaty nerds on GameFAQs. I was 10 years old when the original 3D Ninja Gaiden game came back in 2004. I could never make it past the first boss. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember this game having an easy mode. I feel like most games at the time didn't have robust difficulty options like we do today. So it was either get good or just get a different game, more your speed. I would watch my older cousin who was in high school at the time also struggle to get past the intro to the game. I never really got to see what was beyond the first boss fight. Heck, since I grew up too poor to really have a console with more than a few games and was primarily raised on super short arcade games, I thought the tutorial boss was the final boss. I assumed every game was around 40 minutes long, just like the average coin-eating beat-em-up. All we had growing up were Super Turbo and MK2 on the SNES, and eventually Marvel vs. Capcom and the Power Stone games on Dreamcast. Games with a full campaign? That was a completely foreign concept to me as a child. Zelda? Never heard of them. I was too busy visiting friends and playing Sonic 2 on the Genesis as Tails, never making it past Chemical Plant Zone before being called home. A couple of years later, when I was 14, Devil May Cry 4 would be released and my older brother had a copy of it. We had moved to a new home and I had no internet and no cable TV for a while. So I was stuck playing DMC4 over my weekends. And I was struggling, like hard struggling. Every level took me several tries on Devil Hunter, the game's normal difficulty. I didn't really play video games at the time except when my parents could afford to take me to the arcade on a $1 to $2 budget, which was like between 4 to 8 games depending on the price of the game. But it also meant I couldn't spend $1 to play Virtual Fighter because that was one game for my entire budget. I was more of a TV addict anyways. Console games were a luxury we couldn't really afford, so Tiny Me's skill set revolved around arcade games. Fast-paced, quarter-sucking addictions. That was my comfort zone. Cutscenes were a new thing to me. Long levels were new to me. Being able to save and continue? That was a game changer. That was new to me too. It was difficult to adjust, but with some perseverance, I was finally able to beat Devil May Cry 4 on Devil Hunter. In the following months, Ninja Gaiden 2 would come out and I was able to fare a lot better by then. When I was having trouble, I would just look up online videos of other players and try to mimic what they were doing right. Not only that, but Ninja Gaiden 2 also introduced me to the world of live streaming. While browsing GameFAQs and their message board after a frustrating session, some guy advertised his live stream. Like, what a miracle. Watching a guy play the game live in full 360p 30 FPS glory. Now that was something else. I never thought that would ever be possible. This was way before Twitch was even a thing. I don't remember which website it was, but it was either Ustream.tv or Justin.tv, the predecessor to Twitch.tv. Thanks to them, I was finally able to beat the intro and make it to the halfway point of the game before kinda just abandoning it and moving on with my life. I don't really know why. I just didn't feel like playing the game anymore. Maybe I didn't want to consume too much salt during my summer vacation as I transitioned from middle school to high school. Coincidentally, not too long afterwards, I would get competitively into fighting games with the release of Street Fighter 4 and The King of Fighters 12, completely abandoning single-player games for about, maybe 7 years or so. I could win a tournament in a fighting game, but the normal difficulty in the average modern game, that always gave me a run for my money. I struggled. I never developed any skills outside of arcade games, so it wouldn't be a stretch to say that I was trash at the average video game outside of my bubble of joysticks clanking and buttons jamming niche. What I learned on an arcade stick didn't really transfer over to a controller with an analog stick. The simple nature of arcade games where I never had anywhere to explore gave me no comfort when transitioning to giant levels and open world. The first single player game I picked up since teetering off competitive fighters was Uncharted 4, and I decided to play it on the easiest difficulty, and it was an incredibly easy decision for me to make, because in a few months, I was going to travel to Las Vegas to enter the biggest fighting game tournament of the year, EVO. I had just finished the rest of schooling I needed at the time for my associate's degree. I didn't have a job quite yet, but needed something to do for my leisure time besides grinding it out for hours a day, getting sweaty in Street Fighter 5. You know, grinding in a competitive game for hours on end can kinda ruin your mental health if you take it too far. I needed a game to play solely to unwind and relax. I valued not wasting my time too much trying to get good at Uncharted, as no one would even care that I was playing it casually. You know what? It was a great decision. If you play on easy, you can drastically cut down on what it shows on howlongtobeat.com. Easy mode really helped me to save time and put the sweaty hours into the things I actually cared about grinding. Uncharted 4 was such a banger of an experience that playing on easy mode made me feel comfortable experimenting with games I was bad at or just thought were too long. I felt rejuvenated to play video games during a time in my life where I was not in a good spot mentally and all my free time was consumed with fighting games, fighting games, fighting games. Compete, compete, compete. It was absolutely mentally exhausting, feeling like you had to constantly one-up yourself every single time you turn on a game. And this was my breakthrough just to say, I don't have to get better at this. I can just sit back, chill, and relax and enjoy the experience. Getting my first job after EVO had finished, I bought Final Fantasy 15 and I also played that on easy mode. I was having a blast taking in the world and story. I was genuinely confused by the online discourse of the game. I was like a kid again discovering video games for the first time, but in my early 20s. People said the game was too easy, but for me, an absolute trash gamer, it allowed me to actually beat the game without being frustrated even a little bit. And because of this, I was able to branch out and play every genre of video games out there, from stealth to real-time strategy, RPGs, etc, etc. I was finally able to try them out even if I needed my handheld. Like I played StarCraft 2 specifically for the campaign, and I put it on easy mode. And I can at least say I tried instead of just looking at it like a casual onlooker and just assuming the genre isn't for me. I played Persona 5 on easy. That probably turned a 100-hour RPG into a 50-hour RPG. Grinding, I hate that noise. But guess what? I enjoyed the game because I didn't have to grind so much. Because I learned I genuinely do enjoy turn-based battles. I went back and played Final Fantasy 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. With all that said, a challenge is fun. Compounding frustration? Now that isn't fun. I'm not arguing to play everything at easy. Just don't feel bad if you retroactively have to turn down the difficulty. Trying to get into a new genre of a game you aren't adept at? Simple. Easy mode, bro. I'm telling you. I would have probably rage quit the Plague Tale games if there wasn't an easy mode. I don't play stealth games, but I enjoyed the story. Turns out I can enjoy a stealth game if it isn't too difficult. So when they announced the sequel, I was ecstatic. I still have games I play on harder difficulties. The normal difficulty in Devil May Cry 5 was a bit too easy. A difficulty bump definitely made it more fun. And I can't really play a racing game on the lower difficulties or else it would just feel like I'm having a time trial instead of an actual race. But games nowadays are designed with multiple skill levels in mind. You don't have to force yourself to play a game in a way that you don't enjoy. The developers literally want you to enjoy their game. They'll make you a fan of their series. It's a win-win, so have some fun. I was in a different phase of my life by the time I told myself, no one gives a shit if you play on easy. You just spent $60 of your hard-earned money. Why not enjoy it? Out of school and working, in a committed relationship where I had to prioritize her over trying to get good again, I stopped competing at fighting games and transitioned to being a tournament organizer and just streaming our local tournaments. And you know what? Turns out there's a lot less stress when you do things because you like it instead of trying to impress the people around you. So, here I am, playing Ninja Gaiden 2 Black on easy mode, not giving two F's if people think I'm playing the game wrong, but most importantly, enjoying myself. So, give easy mode a try. You might end up enjoying a genre you thought you hated. Life's pretty good when you mind your own business and don't need other people's approval.
Such is the fragility of evil. Ryu Hayabusa, you will pay for your sin!